G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the Arsehole? Now let's all sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, and let's get right into it. Would I be the asshole if I kicked my daughter out for not turning appliances off? For a little background information, I, 37 female, had my 16 female daughter while still in college. My parents felt that I was too young and too broke to raise her, so they raised her. They took on the roles of her parents, and her father has never been in the picture, so I was grateful. And although she knows that I'm her mother, she sees me as a sister. I try my best to make sure that she lives comfortably and has everything she needs, but really, there's only so much I can do since my parents are capable enough, and I appreciate them. The conflict started when she came to stay over at my place 2 weeks ago to try and bond as mother and daughter. I'll be honest, I've always wanted this, but she didn't. She only came because my parents asked her to. She's a darling for the most part, but she leaves every appliance she uses on. If she enters a room and turns on the lights, she'll leave it on too. It's quite irritating, and I tried to talk to her about it. She laughed it off every time and told stories about her bad memory and what she forgot to turn off at so-and-so's house. Part of me thinks that she's doing it to vex me. I honestly have no problem turning lights off when she leaves rooms, but my house is never lacking in kids. I have none myself apart from my daughter, but my friends and neighbors often drop theirs over for me to watch them, and I love them. Yesterday, my daughter went out with friends and left the electric iron on, and I only found out when my neighbor's kid, female 10, told me that the iron is hot. Needless to say, I was furious. I went off on my daughter when she came back, and I reminded her that kids like to poke at sockets, and the iron could have caused an injury. Besides, it's a fire hazard. She said, okay, sorry, and she would try to remember, only to leave it on again this morning. The plan was to stay for 2 months, and it's only been 2 weeks, but I'm reconsidering it. My friend thinks that sending her back will blow up the only chance at bonding, so will I be the asshole if I send her back to my parents and ban her from my house regardless? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I am the one who wanted to bond, so kicking my daughter out might be an asshole move on my part. And I would have to agree with you on that one, OP. This was all your idea. Yes, she has some flaws, but this is normal for 16-year-olds in my opinion. At least it was for me. I was always leaving appliances on. It's just a teenage thing to do. These are the years that you're going to fight with them the most. And if she doesn't want to be there in the first place, I don't see why you're keeping her there. Just be a normal person and say, this isn't working. I think you should go back to your grandparents' house. We gave it a try and it's not working, but I still love you. That's a normal and valid thing to do, not, I'm kicking you out because you can't turn appliances off after you use them. Also, you're banned from my house. Regardless. Yeah, I think you're the asshole for this one, OP. Edit to add, info for those of you calling me a bad mother for giving her away, I did not choose this. They took her. It was a whole court case that ruled in my parents' favor because they had money and I was still in college. They have been great grandparents, and they have the right to decide whether or not I get to see her, and they only allowed me to meet her when she was 11 and stay with her recently. She also doesn't forget anywhere else, just at my place. And now in the comments, you're the asshole. Going from unplug the iron to get out of my house is quite a leap. You now suddenly have your child in the house. At 16, she looks adult, but she is a kid. Child-proof it. Have conversations with your child. Discuss what is a suitable reaction if she can't remember to not put your place on fire. If one of those discussions comes to the conclusion that neither of you are happy in this situation, ask if she would rather go back with grandma. Be an adult. Try being a parent. Don't be the teenage older sister that overreacts. There won't be a house to kick her out of if it burns down from that iron. Yeah, I would have removed the iron after the first incident if this had been my child. I would not have removed the child though. I'd recommend getting a modern iron instead. The older ones are super dangerous when kids are around. They make irons with automatic shutoffs if the iron isn't being used. For real. I can't remember the last time I bought an iron that didn't have that option. Like, you have to specifically seek out models that don't shut off on their own after a few minutes of being inactive. If your response to the first parenting challenge is to kick her out, I'm glad that your parents raised her. 100% you would be the asshole. Exactly. 2 weeks in and OP is ready to wash her hands of her kid? If parents gave up on their children for forgetting to turn off lights and appliances, then we would all be parentless and homeless. I'm a grown-ass adult, and from time to time, I forget. It happens. OP shouldn't be surprised if her daughter/parents shut her out for good if she kicks her daughter out because of this. And now on to the update. Thank you all for the comments and advice. I totally see the mistake that I was about to make. I also accept my judgment, and I'm going to take responsibility for my thoughts, which I'm glad did not become actions. I spoke to my daughter a while ago, and I told her my side of things, how I genuinely feel about her and all this, and she listened. She didn't say much, but she admitted she doesn't really see me as a mother since she knew me as a distant sister first, so she didn't know what to do when her grandparents asked her to come over. She's not ready to call me mum yet. She doesn't think she ever will, and she assumed that I would expect her to. She's also upset about me having kids over most of the time, as she feels they shouldn't get the right to be so close and clingy to me when she doesn't have that kind of freedom because again, I'm more of a sister that she sees once in a lifetime to her. Long story short, I realized it's going to be much harder than I ever imagined, but I will try my best going forth to make her feel loved and welcome. I understand I should keep my boundaries, but, in her words, I should stop walking on eggshells around her too, which I will try to. She didn't promise to do the same, but she did promise to stop doing things that could potentially cause harm, which is a huge step. While on that note, I would also like to point out that it's quite mean of commenters to make assumptions on something that they know nothing about. My past had nothing to do with the post, and I left it out, only adding brief answers to questions that I got asked. We are all in different countries with different laws and views, and just because things go a certain way in your country doesn't mean that they go that exact way in other countries. There are ways to express your views without ho, shaming, and name-calling. We all learn from mistakes, and I'm learning from mine. I appreciate your judgment on my actions, but I hope you can be kinder on other people's posts, regardless of whether they are the asshole or not. Remember guys, just because they're an asshole doesn't mean you can yell at them. They're still humans at the end of the day. And now in the comments, so the courts ruled in favor of the grandparents over the birth mother? Yup, it's not that uncommon. Indian judicial system is rotten with corruption. If grandparents are rich, they can easily bribe the judge to give judgment in their favor with some BS excuse. I know zilch about Indian law and court norms, of course, but to take a kid from a 21-year-old, coupled with them not letting her see the kid for 11 years, plus the whole vibe of this, I think there is a lot of missing info. OP mentioned some undefined health issues, and I don't see any mention of the father. From my admittedly lacking knowledge of Indian society, I can imagine they don't hold young single mothers with health problems in very high regard. Indian court system is garbage. You have money, you'll get the case in your favor. People say upper caste and lower caste doesn't exist, but in reality it does. Everything is the direct opposite to how the internet sees India. I live in the US, and my parents did this to my sister. It started off innocently enough. My sister was divorced, my parents volunteered to babysit while she worked, and then they started to refuse to give the baby back. Oh, he's already asleep. We'll keep him for the night. That way you don't have to drop him off in the morning. Or they simply wouldn't be home when she came to pick him up. It got so bad that she had to take them to court. The judge gave custody to my parents because the child spends most of his waking hours at their house, and it's in the best interests of the child. After that, my parents cut her off completely. She didn't see her child again until she turned 18. It destroyed her. I'm British, and this is exactly why my mum did everything she could to stay independent after her divorce when my grandmother was pushing her to move back home. She knew that she would have ended up sidelined in her own kids' lives if she went back, and that my grandmother would have come up with every excuse in the book to keep it that way, even if she'd remarried while we still were children. Our next post is titled, "Nobody came to my son's party last night. What the hell?" So yesterday, my son turned 10. Awesome. He loves Avengers, so his dad and I decided to throw him a party at the house. We invited family and friends, who most of them RSVP'd. Great. We make enough food to feed 40 plus people. The place looks awesome, Avengers decorations everywhere, balloons, cupcakes, the whole 9 yards. Only to have me and my husband's immediate family be the only ones present. I'm talking 6 people max. Not a single other kid at the birthday party. It broke my heart. My son kept looking out the window and door for guests, asking when his friends will get there, but nobody ever came. I have a bag full of goodie bags, a piñata still intact, and unopened games. People suck. It sucks that we have a small family, and they made my son feel like a loner on his frickin' birthday. He's a great kid and has been looking forward to his birthday all year. But come on, how are you going to RSVP and not come to a frickin' kid's birthday party? And now in the comments, "I know the feeling, mama, and it is so hard. My son is 13 and only has had 1 birthday party because of this reason. He had a speech delay too. I rented the rec center pool only to have 4 family members there as well. What are the parents of those kids thinking? Heartbreaking. I'm not gonna lie, it didn't get easier for my son. Middle school has been awful. Kids who he has known for years calling him gay and autistic, one punched him in the mouth. My son is in the gifted program, rocks an occasional bow tie, and has the softest heart. When the kids kept up with the gay slurs, he literally came home, broke down, and said, "What's wrong with being gay?" He then very genuinely said that he hadn't thought of sex yet, so he didn't know what to tell all the boys who were teasing him. Right in the feels. So instead, I bolster him up as best I can. For birthdays, I let him pick an adventure or gift. For example, scuba, or snooba as they say, or baby tiger photo op. Usually a higher cost activity, and we rock it out. It gives him a birthday memory, even if it's not a party. At 12, he joined the Civil Air Patrol. He's still alone, but he's alone in a group activity setting, and at least they understand his passion for planes and space. I keep telling him that he will meet his people one day, probably in grad school. At least that's my hope. You sound like a great mom. I was an only child who was pretty shy, so some birthdays were special outings like you mentioned. And I loved those birthdays. Thinking about it, if I hadn't been in a private school with a strict policy of birthday invitations, friends wouldn't have shown up to my birthdays either. I had a class of 19 kids in my grade, so there was an enforced policy of birthday parties, and every kid had to be invited if you had one. Weird, but I guess it played a benefit to me as a weird kid. Lol. Get a PO box and update us with it. I'll send a card. And I bet lots of others here will too. My son went through this recently. He is 8 now. My wife and I decided to take him to an amusement park in lieu of a party this year. His 8th birthday was at Great Wolf Lodge. When I talked to him about it this morning, his first comment was, "I want to send one. I didn't like how it felt." Broke my heart and made me so proud in the same moment. And now on to the update. Just wanted to give everyone a mini update. Oh my god, I am overwhelmed by the love and wishes from the Reddit community. You guys are awesome. I apologize if I wasn't able to respond to you individually, but wow, I came to this subreddit to vent, and all I got was a vast amount of support. You guys managed to make me cry again. Hearing that my son is not the only one, and there are so many others who had similar experiences. I know it's just a birthday party, but I try to do everything to see my son happy, so when something like this happens, I do feel helpless, as it truly broke my heart. But you guys are willing to go above and beyond, and make my little man's day special. Thank you so much. You don't understand how much you are going to make some little kid's birthday the most memorable one by receiving cards from all around the world. I know there are a lot of people who have asked. We are in Boston, Mass, and Monday morning I will go first thing to get a PO box as I do not have one. His favorite characters are Iron Man and Captain America. Thank you everybody. I will keep you updated. And update, I promise I haven't been ignoring you guys. My husband and I spent the whole day yesterday with my son to lift his spirits, so I haven't had a chance to reply to most of you, but I will try to today. So I finally got a PO box. Thank you to all of those who have made cards for my son. The amount of support is just unreal. Me and my husband can't thank you enough. God bless you guys. Honestly, I can't thank you enough. I'm way too excited for him. We'll explain to my son what Reddit is today when he gets home from school and scroll through some comments, but we'll leave the cards as a surprise. Final update. Hi all. So I did try posting an update and it got deleted, so I'm posting it here. So to update you all on what's going on, we were finally able to go to the post office and I was in tears. You guys really outdid yourselves. Abe got so many cards and packages. It was unreal. We are deeply moved by the love and support that you all have for a random little boy. That in itself speaks volumes. We sat down yesterday with Abe and we read every single card. My son loved everything. He's so excited to have cards from all over the world, awesome comic books and toys. His mood has definitely changed. He is so much happier, and this definitely will rewrite the bad birthday party he had. And we simply cannot thank you all enough for what you have done for me and my family. This has turned out to be one of his best birthdays ever, and it's all thanks to you, Reddit. And now in the comments, why would you RSVP to a party and then just ghost it and not say anything? Who does that? I wonder if OP contacted any of the kids' parents to ask what happened. Isn't that part of the social contract of parenthood? Like, I don't want to be at a child's party, but neither do they want to attend my kid's party. We both agree to burn an afternoon while eating cake and pizza, and nobody gets a traumatic birthday. If you're bored, you buy the kids the noisiest gift you can and watch the parents' faces when they realize what you've done. For that many no-shows, something's off. One of the parents said or did something would be my guess. Whatever. I'm just glad the kid got an internet-sized hug. Lol, when I was a kid, we all attended each other's birthdays whether we felt like it or not. It was a rare chance for our parents to shove us off on someone else for the day and get a break. Yeah, I don't even remember being invited. My mom would just take us to kids' parties in our year, and it was always the same 30 kids. Only gets worse as you get older. I threw a barbecue once in college with over 50 invites and 20 confirming the night before. Nobody showed up. Not a single call or text either. People just suck. Wow, I'm really sorry to hear this. This is one of my biggest fears with throwing an event. There was a post where a woman, I think, married someone that her sister wanted, so the mother convinced the entire family to not go to the wedding. Our next post is titled, My 30 Male Wedding is 22 Days Away. I have been no contact with my dad's wife, both in their 60s, because she refused to apologize. He just told me that he's not coming. How can I salvage this? So this is a bit long, so bear with me. My stepmom, Dee, is a narcissist. She's been a bully to my sister, 28 female, and me since they got together 18 years ago, and my dad has only enabled her. It's 100% an abusive relationship. She is extremely controlling and a bully to him as well. 2 years ago on my birthday, she brought up something traumatic that she did to me years before, and she bragged about it to say the abuse is the reason I'm successful. I was pissed. I worked with my psychiatrist to write a letter explaining my hurt and telling her that while I want a relationship with her, I'll need an apology to move forward. She sent a letter back blaming me for a bunch of stuff from when I was a kid to justify her abuse and refusing to apologize. My response was, I'm sorry, I can't have a relationship with you if you don't respect me enough to apologize. My email inbox is open should you choose to apologize, but this is a hard boundary. Do not call, text, etc. Since then, the only communication has been her attempts to ambush me by picking up my dad's phone when I call him, leaving me aggressive voicemails and texts, or having my dad pressure me to meet her in person. I suffer from anxiety, and direct contact with her would only trigger an attack. About a month ago, she stole my dad's phone, read through our private conversation, and then she texted me from his phone. My dad, understandably pissed, said that he wanted a divorce, and that same day, she finally did email me one sentence: "I am sorry for hurting your feelings on your birthday." I responded also with one line: "I appreciate the apology." And then nada again, from either of them. My dad left town to get some space. As I mentioned, my wedding is in 22 days. My dad emailed me 2 days ago with a long, insulting letter. Too much to type out, but the highlights are: boundaries are rude and I'm selfish. My psychiatrist is a joke. D has been punished enough, so get over it. How dare I only send one line back to D's email? D is the real victim, and how dare I not invite his wife to my wedding? Plus, the exact sentence: "Obviously, I'm not coming to your wedding." To be clear, I've heard most of these brought up over the past 2 years and have addressed them with him, but he just dismisses me as being angry and vindictive. Basically, as usual, he wants me to just make peace at the expense of my mental health while never holding D accountable. I'm in a healthy headspace thanks to my psychiatrist and incredible fiancé. I know that my boundary is healthy, and no amount of guilt tripping will make me feel bad about setting it. But how can I respond? Despite my intense anger over the letter, I still want him, not her, at my wedding. I love my dad, and I'm so sad that one simple boundary is apparently enough to end our relationship. And now in the comments, I think you know that they have made their choice. Why would you want them in your life if they cause you so much distress and they clearly don't respect you? Count it as them doing you a favor. They shouldn't ruin your wedding day, and you are literally letting them. Your wedding day isn't about them, it's about you and your partner. Yup, it's time to go no contact with dear old enabler dad. These people will only get worse with old age, and then add grandkids into the mix, and they will be even more of a nightmare. Hey OP, may I suggest you read Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents? It's a relatively short book, and you can get a free PDF online by Googling it. It has a lot of practical and affirming advice for understanding and navigating exactly these kinds of relationships. I've also been in therapy for years, and I still found the book really useful and insightful, and hopefully you will too. Take care. And OP replies, "I will look into it. Thanks for sharing. Sounds very helpful." I grew up in a similar situation, and the first thing I want to say is, your father does not deserve a pass just because he didn't abuse you in the same ways his wife did. He 100% allowed his child to be abused and did nothing. That is not acceptable without an apology. You should be incredibly proud of yourself for setting this boundary and for fighting your way to better mental health. I suffer from anxiety as a result of my father's and stepmother's upbringing, and I can truly appreciate the amount of growth that it takes to claw your way to the other side of this. I think the toughest reality I've had to face as an adult, processing a traumatic, emotionally abusive upbringing from my stepmother, is that my father allowed it to happen. My father is very much bullied into submission by his wife, as you explained yours is, but that doesn't excuse anything. He made the choice then to not fight for his daughter, and now, even worse, he's aiding his wife into trying to emotionally tear you down. You don't need that in your life, sis. I got caught in the trap, for a long time, of believing my father was just trying his best and wasn't malicious in his intentions. But I now own the fact that thinking like that is what manipulators and narcissists prey on. He failed to protect his child from ongoing emotional abuse. That isn't forgivable without an apology, without some semblance of ownership. What is different about your stepmother's abuse compared to your father's allowing it to happen? I'd say there's a ton of catharsis in owning how angry you deserve to be at your father, and he shouldn't get a free pass into one of the best days of your life if he can't prove that he cares enough about you to stand up for you. He's complicit in this situation too. And OP says, "This is my favorite reply. Thank you for sharing. It's shocking how similar it sounds, and anytime I brought up to him how my anxiety stems from D, it was dismissed. But it really did. And the way my dad taught me to deal with that was just to keep the peace at all costs. Bend over backwards for D to make her happy because he's too afraid to stand up to her." I used to give him the benefit of the doubt too. And right now, my sister has been saying that type of thing. Don't you feel bad for Dad? He's in a really tough spot. He's really depressed. He's trying. Can you do it for his sake? I mean, he never stood up to her for our sake. Why would I? I'm going to send her your comment. Again, I really appreciate it. You spoke directly to my experience. And they reply to OP, "I'm really happy that my experience could help an internet stranger. Again, I think it's really cool that you've overcome the circumstances. It's easier to not process this stuff, but then we run the risk of repeating it. One thing my therapist asked me that helped me a lot was, would you even fathom letting someone do or say things to your future children that your stepmother said to you? That's really when my attitude towards my father did a 180. And OP says, "Thank you. Yes, my soon-to-be wife is emphatic with how proud she is of me, which helps me feel pride in the work and healing that I've been able to do for myself. I hope you feel pride as well. Just acknowledging any of this is huge, let alone seeking help for yourself. It took me until I was 28 to see a psychiatrist, and my life is so dramatically better now because of it." I like that question. I definitely have thought along those lines. We won't have children though. I was in an abusive relationship with a mini version of D. Her behavior wasn't a red flag to me because I grew up with it until a friend pointed out that it was abuse and I deserved better. I ask myself, if I read a post like mine, what would I say? The same as everyone here, of course. I just didn't want to admit it to myself. Sometimes you just need help to open your eyes. Back up to the post, we have some edits. I feel like the letter was a trap. Either I cave to her and they both come, or I tell him no, and it proves all they say about me, and it justifies him not coming. Edit 2, the letter wasn't sent by D, although it has her fingerprints all over it. My sister confirmed my dad did, but she's on team make peace, it is tearing Dad apart. That deserves another post. Edit 3, one thing that I didn't mention, in the letter, he said that he doesn't want to come because how am I supposed to explain why my wife isn't there? Well, how am I supposed to explain that he isn't there? It's mind-boggling. And edit 4, for some reason, a lot of people think I'm a woman. The post says 30 male, but you're giving my fiancé a good laugh with it. And now on to the update. Hi everyone. I got some incredible insight on my last post, albeit with some hard truths that I didn't want to accept. Thanks to everyone, especially those who shared stories that were very close to mine. It really helped me understand. So I wanted to update everyone who may be wondering what the fallout of this is. This will likely be my only update, unless something dramatic happens. The fun update is, I got married. My wife, which is still crazy to say, and I are so happy, and our wedding was the best day, full of the family and friends who love us the most. It was so incredible, and full of memories that we will cherish together forever. The not fun update is long, as there is a lot that happened. Well, I sent back a response to my dad's original letter shortly after posting. I had a lot to say, but I kept it brief on the advice of some. Full text, I'm very hurt that you have chosen not to attend my wedding. However, I'm not surprised that you have once again chosen to appease D's whims over my needs, happiness, and mental health. As you've done for nearly 2 decades. It's honestly shocking that one simple boundary and one need for an apology from her is apparently enough to end your and my relationship. But I will respect your choice. We are not inviting drama, dismissiveness, bullying, or manipulation, and we are certainly not going to tolerate anyone who uses our wedding as an opportunity to blackmail us into accepting any of those. That has no place at our wedding, and frankly, in our lives at all. I never got a response. However, he did call my mum, who is awesome by the way, and said the same crap he said in the email from the previous post, which she shut down. She astutely realized that he was just trying to manipulate her into getting me to let Dee come to the wedding. He also had the nerve to say how important his vows were and doubled down on his wife being more important. The kicker is, he cheated on my mum while they were married. So I'm not sure why he thought that that was smart to say to her. My mum ended with, nothing would keep me away from my child's wedding, and asked him how attending would possibly change his relationship with Dee. He didn't have an answer. I then sent a quick write-up to my family and friends, basically stating that he won't be there, and to please not bring it up on the wedding day. Most people were understanding and supportive, but it turned out 2 of my aunts, his sisters, suddenly couldn't make it. Well, my cousin told me that my aunts decided not to come in solidarity. So while I was deciding what to do and trying not to get any others involved, my dad and Dee decided that it was better to use that time to poison my family against me. After all of his talk about not putting people in the middle in his letter, he sure had no problem with getting his siblings to boycott my wedding. My cousins were awesome though, and we had an excellent chance to reconnect about this type of bullcrap from our parents and bond. 2 days before the wedding, my dad sent me another email titled, I come in peace. In it, he confirmed that he won't come, but said that it saddens me to the depth of my soul, and that he wishes that there was a way to mend the family. Other than, I guess, attend my wedding? Then he wished me well, and to enjoy my wedding because of how wonderful and important weddings are. Lol. The way it was written made it seem like he wanted to come, but couldn't due to extenuating circumstances, which pissed me off. At the time of the wedding, he was sitting at home 30 minutes away, too much of a coward to show up. I waited until after the honeymoon to decide whether to respond. After talking with my therapist, I realized I did want to respond because I don't think he understood what missing my wedding meant, and I wanted to make it clear. In it, I said this email was nothing but a self-serving, disingenuous attempt to alleviate his own guilt for skipping it, and that there is no healing from this. Then I said to not contact me again. Fast forward to last week, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. It was a bunch of letters between us from when I was a child, and a piece of paper that said, Happy birthday, don't throw away, your birth certificate and social security card are inside. So I guess that's that. He's wiped his hands of me, but not before going for a last attempt at a guilt trip. I've been working with my therapist through the hurt, anger, and sadness that I'm dealing with from being abandoned by my father. I've been very depressed. I'm grieving a loss, because I didn't want it to end this way, but he's made his choices. However, I'm thankful to have a great therapist and incredible support from my wife, mum, and friends. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you to everyone for your comments and support, and thanks to my incredible wife for being by my side through everything. And now in the comments, congratulations on your wedding. When we're young, we're sort of trained to think of our parents as infallible and omnipotent. As we get older, it is important to recognize that our parents are people, and most people are screwed up with their own problems, and some of their problems are of their own making. Your father sounds like a my way or the highway type, but as you're a grown-up yourself, you get to set your own expectations, boundaries, and consequences of what you're looking to include in your life. And that probably includes letting your dad stick with his lonely highway as he has clearly chosen to do. I'd say that you probably don't have anything nice to say to your dad, so silence from here on out might convey the exact message that you're looking to send. And OP says, yeah, this has unfortunately been my journey over the past few years. Thanks for sharing. You gave him a clear indication of what his choices have resulted and will further result in if he keeps making his selfish choices. Now all of this, like before, is on him. He made his choice, and now he's lost his son, and that's on him again. Like you indicated, he's a coward and will die a coward. I respect your assertiveness and willingness to set strict boundaries. You made the right decision in the end. Good luck with all. And OP says, thank you. It means a lot. Yes, I know he and D are going to tell everyone who will hear how I wronged and am mean and am selfish and it's all my fault, but it's really on them. And this specifically is on him. They can lie about it all they want, but the truth is the truth. My dad did exactly the same, but it's always hard to explain to people that my life has suffered no loss due to his absence from it. And OP says, yes. With D, my dad didn't get that I felt better without her. It's a bit harder with him, as we were close and shared a lot of interests, but I can't have a relationship with someone who can't respect me enough to show up to my wedding. OP seems to use his father's wife as the explanation for a lot of his father's poor behavior. By the end, I'm pretty confident it's just 'cause he's a shitty person. Yeah, no one made the dad cheat on his mum, marry D, and allow her to abuse his kids, write nasty emails, and then refuse to come to his wedding. Those choices are all his dad's. Poor OP, but good on him for standing by the simple request for some decency. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. It was a long one, and I hope you enjoyed it. See ya!